Episode 8, the stress Western, not the best Western. And here, Sarah has returned to the ship. And, Ava's trying to make her return, like a great one. Like, she prepared breakfast in bed for her. She's all like nervous and giddy. And then at the same time, like, Sarah's trying to make things as normal as possible because she's trying to come with terms over the fact that she's actually an alien human hybrid, like hybrid clone. So Ava's like, "Oh, tell me about what happened when you were on the planet." And she was just like, she's like, "How about you tell me about the Legends gossip?" And then she starts, and then Ava was just like, "Well, why talk about Legends gossip, or alien planets when you and I can, rekindle that fire?" And then as soon as she tries to like, get in her pants, then Sarah comes out of nowhere and she's just like, "I'm an alien human hybrid clone." And to be honest, I'm glad that they didn't like drag that out with her telling everybody, because Ava's a clone herself. So if anybody would understand, it would be Ava. So there was really no reason to not tell Ava. So like I said, so that was something I was perfectly fine with, and I'm glad that it turned out the way that it turned out. But Sarah said that she didn't want to tell the rest of the team yet because she just wanted to have like a normal Legends mission, and then she'll tell them later when she feels more comfortable. While everybody's on the ship, Constantine is talking to Gary, and he's trying to get information. He's trying to get information from Gary about this whole like magical fountain thing. And Gary's trying to act like he don't know anything about it because it's like this big alien secret. So John's is like, he's just like, "All right, Gary." He's like, "You're trying to play hard to get it, but I'll find out the information, mate." And then, and then Spooner, she both her and Astra, like they're button heads because, Spooner's making fun of like Astra, like Astra's like magical training. And then, like Astra's making fun of Spooner for being able to talk to aliens. So the two of them are kind of like button heads as well. Then, so we get the alert about like, like the new alien like time travel thing. There's a place in the Old West where an alien has been detected. While everybody's looking at the whole computer trying to figure out, like what to do as far as the plan is concerned, Spooner's that's like, she's getting like crazy alien vibes. Because at this point, again, only Ava knows that Sarah's an alien hybrid clone. But because Spooner can protect aliens in her presence, she's feeling the emotion, she's feeling the vibes of everything that's coming off of Sarah because Sarah's half alien. She was just like, like she said, "I feel like, like somebody's hiding something," and then like somebody wants to jump Ava's bones, and then Ava tried to deflect. She was like, "Oh, that's obviously Gary," because everybody knows that Gary's an alien, and since nobody knows that Sarah's an alien, everything that Spooner's feeling based off of Sarah, Ava's trying to deflect on Gary. So they're just like, "All right, screw all this. Let's just go down to the town." Now, Nate being the historian, Nate tells everybody, he's just like, "Hey, the town that we're going to, it's supposed to be one of the baddest, most violent, most like craziest towns of all time." He's like, "These people aren't friendly. These people are looking for a fight any chance that they can get it. So let's not give them that chance. Let's just be quiet and, fly under the radar." So they go into a saloon, and as soon as they go into the saloon, like everybody's happy, they're dancing, they're drinking milkshakes and everything, giving each other hugs, and then everybody's looking around like, "Okay, that's not what we signed up for." And everybody was trying to figure out, why is this place so friendly? Like, why are these people friendly? And then Nate, like he found a picture of the guy who was like the deputy sheriff. And, he said that the sheriff was the first black man to actually become the sheriff of this town. And then there was another picture of another guy, and then Nate was like, "Well, this was like one of the worst outlaws of all time." And then they find out that the outlaw ended up being the sheriff. And then, like the black deputy, he ended up being like a criminal. So then he was just like, "Yo, how does the roles get reversed like that?" He said the alien must be messing with time. But then the new sheriff, he was just like, "Oh, we got some new folks in town. If y'all don't abide by the rules, no cussing, no fornication, of any kind, no violence, no shooting." He's just like, "Yo, just abide by the rules and it'll be all gravy." So of course, this is Legends of Tomorrow, so following the rules isn't gonna happen. So right right out the gate, Astra bumps into this one guy who thought she was a waitress, and like they're playing the race thing with Astra like throughout, but to be honest, I'm glad that they're doing this with Astra, especially because they're going through time. They did it a little bit when we had Vixen on the show. They did it a little bit with Jax, but they're doing it a lot with Astra, and I like that because if they're traveling through history and you're the only black person, like in the group, people are going to throw racist stuff at Astra on a regular basis. So like I said, it made perfect sense, and I like that. But of course, Astra's not trying to hear it. And then her whole thing is, again, she's trying to put that respect back on her name. So she's just like, listen, she's like, this asshole wants to try to like disrespect me. She said, I'll play him in a game of cards and I'll steal all his gold. Because Astra had noticed the guy had like a sack full of gold, and she was just like, yeah, I'm gonna take that shit. So she sits down to play cards, and the guy's like, oh, we're playing Crazy Eights. You know, like that's the card game. So they end up playing Crazy Eights. And then, you know, then she was just like, oh, what are we wagering your gold for what? And then the guy was like, oh, we don't gamble in this town because gambling causes too many problems. So they ended up playing like Crazy Eights, you know, like the game is over. The guy takes his gold and he walks out of the saloon. Behrad ends up meeting this woman, and then Zari tried to chime in, and she was just like, oh, we're at a saloon, dear. She was just like, oh, that girl gets paid to like you. But then, you know, Behrad was like, but what if she actually does like me? And then somebody said, they're just like, well, we don't do saloon and sexual acts in here because it causes too many problems. So now, so if that was the case, so then Behrad was just like, well, shoot, if that's the case, then obviously this girl really likes me for me. So I tried to like get with her. And then Zari was just trying to tell him it was a bad idea, and the two of them kind of went at it. You know, Constantine and Gary kept going at it over like the whole, you know, like the whole fountain thing. So that was a thing as well. And then with Sarah and Ava, they were just talking about like, oh, you know, like don't tell anybody I'm a clone. And then Sarah was doing this weird thing where she was just like, she was obsessed with like milkshakes and cherries. And then Ava was just like, okay, something weird's going on around here. But they couldn't really figure out what the problem was. But like I said, they were just like, hey, everything's all good for the moment, so let's just enjoy the moment and see where everything takes us. And then at that moment, the guy that was playing cards with Astra, he went outside, and then Astra ran up on him, and she was like, yo, tell me where you got the gold from. And then the guy was like, I ain't telling the likes of you. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then Astra got mad, you know, and she was gonna fight him. And then everybody ran outside because they were like, oh, there's a fight going on outside. And then just as like the two of them were about to fight, this rumbling started happening, and then this gigantic gold worm came out of nowhere. He ate the prospector gold guy, and then the worm, you know, and then after the worm like appeared in town and everybody was scared, the sheriff, like the criminal sheriff, he blew a whistle that forced the worm back into underground. So now everybody's like, oh shit, you know, Spooner's alien radar went off like crazy, and then Spooner was like, yo, that's the alien that we're looking for. So everybody's back on the ship now, and they're just like, okay, so there's an alien worm, and this criminal guy, like, he has a whistle that can control the alien worm. So we need to find out information about this alien worm. They find out that there's supposed to be like a dancing contest, whatever. So Sarah's like, listen, we're all going back to the saloon. We're going to go into the dancing contest, and we're going to try to get more information. She told Astra and Spooner to stay behind because Spooner and Astra were beefing throughout the entire mission. And she was just like, if this alien is attracted by anger, if this alien is attracted by emotion, because they were just like, well, that's why the town is trying to like keep calm and keep the peace, because the alien seems to be attracted by anger. And then she was just like, you know, you two are the two most angriest people on the ship, aside from Mick. So she was like, the two of you are going to stay here. Instead of them staying behind, Astra and Spooner end up going into the forest because Astra wanted to go find the prospector to find out where he was mining his gold, because she was going to steal the gold from everybody to prove, you know, that she can't be trifled with. Spooner followed her. The two of them got into a conversation. You know, Spooner started talking about like her mom when her mom passed away, and then when Astra found out that she lost her mom, then Astra kind of like, you know, calmed down a little bit. The two of them semi got on the same page, and they went to go follow the trail to find out where the gold is. The rest of the legends are at the saloon. They're doing the whole like dance off, you know, swing your partner, do and all that bullshit. Sarah's still drinking milkshakes and eating cherries, you know, like everything, you know, everything's still going according to plan. And then it got to a point where Sarah and and the sheriff, the two of them got into it. And then when the two of them got into it, you know, Sarah was just like, hey, because she asked him about the whistle. And then Sarah was just like, hey, how about you and I have a duel? You know, we'll have a duel, and the winner gets the whistle, the loser leaves town. So now, you know, Ava's just like, oh, you know, like, I don't want you to do this. And I want you to be okay. And then Sarah's like, calm down, babe. She was like, you know, like, I got this. Like, I've never lost a shootout before. I'm Sarah Lance, damn it. So the two of them go outside, they do the whole like 10 paces, count to 3, turn and shoot. And I knew this was going to happen because once they got to 2, the guy, because he's a criminal, the guy turned around and shot Sarah in the head. And I was just like, I'm really surprised Sarah didn't see that coming. I mean, you were trained by the League of Assassins. You fought enough villains. You should know that he wasn't going to keep his word about the 10 pace thing. So he shot her right in the head too, which is crazy. We actually saw the hole in her head. And then when we saw the hole in her head, like Ava freaked out. You know, Sarah dropped to her knees, and then the hole in her head closed, and then she stood back up. And then the guy was like, what kind of magical mumbo jumbo monster shit is this? And then she was just like, I'm not a monster, but she was just like, yo, you can't kill me because I'm Sarah Lance. And then, she took her gun out, she shot the whistle out of his hand, and then, the guy got angry and he was just like, oh, I'll kill you, bitch. And then, then all of a sudden the worm, like the ground started shaking because the worm was on its way back and the worm was coming at it. The worm came out of nowhere, and the worm ended up eating, like the sheriff. And then after the worm ate the sheriff, the worm, the saloon girl that Beyrad was trying to talk to, she took the whistle and she blew the worm back into the underground. Then Sarah was just like, thanks for the assist. And then she was like, well, just give us the whistle and then, we'll be on our way. And then the girl was like, we can't do that. And then the whole town took out their guns and drew their guns on the legends, because she was just like, oh, we got to protect that worm by any means necessary. They started firing at the legends, and the legends got scared and ran back into the saloon, and like they locked the door and hid themselves in the saloon. Astra and Spooner, they're back at the prospect mine, and they see the worm, the worm returned to the prospect mine. The worm is like eating dirt, eating trees or whatever, and then gold is coming. Every time the worm like moved, gold was like left in its place. And then Spooner was like, yo, was the gold coming out of its ass? Because whatever that alien does, the alien basically shits out gold. Then Astra realized, she said, that's why the town is being so calm. And that's why they're trying to protect it. She's like, the townspeople, they're not trying to kill the worm. They're not afraid of the worm. They're trying to protect the worm because they know the worm is literally a gold mine. And then the black sheriff came out of nowhere, and he was just like, oh, it looks like y'all figured out the town secret. And then when they do the zoom up on the guy, it's freaking Diggle. Like, I guess it's like an ancestor from Dig, from Dig's family line. Because like, I knew he was gonna be on Legends, but I was just like, I didn't think it was gonna be in that capacity. So we got him on Batwoman last week. This week he's on Legends, and then next week he's gonna be on the Flash. So like, this is Diggle month. It's Diggle month on the CW. So, but this his name was like Ross, like Moss or like Ross or something. So then he was just like, yeah, he said that the townspeople basically chased him out because they all banded together to try to protect the worm, when Diggle told everybody that the worm, is like, the worm isn't safe, and that you guys should run from it. But he was just like, but then at that moment, the rumbling started happening, and then the worm ended up leaving, and then Diggle was like, come on, we can go back to the town and like cut it off to help your friends. So while they're all at the saloon now, everybody basically, like, they're trapped in the saloon, and then like this whole argument starts. Like, Constantine is arguing with Gary because he doesn't want to tell him about the water fountain, the magical water fountain. Zari ended up telling Beyrad, I told you so, the girl can't be trusted, and the two of them get into an argument. Ava and Sarah are arguing because Sarah's, because Ava's just like, oh, you got shot in the head, and I don't know about this power thing, it's not normal. And then Sarah's just like, listen, everything will be fine, you're overreacting. And then while everybody's arguing, Nate's trying to calm everybody down. Nobody wants to listen, and then Nate gets to the point where he's just like, you know what, screw it. Nate ended up blowing up because he was like, first of all, once Mick left the ship and Mick and Sarah was gone, I was the OG legend. I was like, that's actually a fact. He's like, I was the OG legend on the ship. Nobody checked in to see how I was feeling. I lost Zari to the totem. Nobody asked me about that. So he was just like, since everybody wants to be mad and complain over little things when I'm going through real shit, he's like, I'll just draw the alien to me. And then he goes outside, and then the alien shows up. Spooner and Astra and Dig show up, and then when the alien comes up out of the ground, because Nate was the angriest person, so the worm went after Nate. And this was cool because when the worm came up to go eat Nate, and Nate realized, he's like, oh shit, he's like, my plan worked, he steeled up. And I was just like, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because the worm can't eat you if you're made out of steel. But then right before the worm, like the whole worm thing happened, Astra had told Spooner, because Astra told Spooner, she was like, listen, you need to take off that hat, and you need to get into the alien's mind. And then she was just like, oh, I don't want to take off the hat, because she's like, once I take off the hat, the alien will get into my head. And then she was like, well, why don't you use that to your advantage and get into theirs, because the connection has to work both ways. So Spooner did that. She ended up getting into the alien psyche, and she was able to not so much calm it down, but she was talking to the alien, and then she was just like, oh, feel my power, feel my rage. So now the alien and Spooner were at a standoff. Spooner was just like, yo, I can't hold it that much longer. But then Astra came in, she used one of her magic spells, and Astra and Spooner together, they blew up the alien and they saved the town. the townspeople, like the girl with the whistle, she ended up firing at them, and then like the legends got in a shootout with them. They took them down, and then everything, once the alien died, everything was back to normal now because like the gold mine is gone. Nate didn't get eaten and everything was okay, and the sheriff didn't have to arrest anybody because like the town people basically pretty much just gave up at that point. And then in the end, Dig's ancestor, he got his job back as like the sheriff of the town. And then Dig went away. I think he directed this episode too. I think he directed all the episodes that he was in. Gary and everybody pretty much made amends at that point. Like we were back on the ship. Bayrod and Zari, like they reconciled, and then Bayrod took both of their totems and gave them to Nate, and he said you can use these totems to go into the totem so you can be with Zari. They showed Mick still asleep. Astra, and Spooner, like they became friends, so they're cool now. And then Sarah and Ava basically, like came together and they said, listen, this is just the new normal and we're gonna have to live with it. Gary ended up telling Constantine the information that he needed because he said that there's a map that will lead him to where the fountain is, but he told him the person who has access to the map is the guy who's trapped in the painting in your attic. So Constantine left the ship to go talk to that guy. Zari didn't go with him, so Constantine's either gonna be on a separate mission for a while or he's just gonna be off the show for a while, but he left to go do that whole thing. And then we were back on the ship, and the whole thing ended, with the legends basically just like, being friends, and some cowboy was playing a song, and then that's how the whole show ended. So this is going to be pretty interesting because there's always a there's always a John Constantine side mission. So the side mission now is him trying to get his power back. So now that he's removed from the ship, Astra has now become the designate, like magical person on the ship, because she's not going with John. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out because Astra's getting more like, she's getting more in tune with the legends, and they said she's making more friends and she's starting to hang around them more. So this will be cool. And see, now I have a theory here, and I don't want to jump the gun on this, but I want to say this now before I forget, so this way I can say I told you so when it happens. I feel like now the show is going to make they're going to make a thing out of Sarah being a hybrid clone. It's not just like, okay, she's half human, half alien, and this is just what it's going to be. There's going to be, like, every episode there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a conversation. Her and Ava are going to get into it. There's going to be this whole big thing. And I basically know how, in the season finale, and I said this last week because the episode last week was entitled Back to the Finale Part 2. And I said in the review last week, I said, if you're calling it Back to the Finale Part 2, that obviously means you're going to have a Part 3. And I'm calling it now in the season finale of this season of Legends of Tomorrow. They're going to go back to the finale a third time, and the alien hybrid clone that Sarah is now, she's going to go into the bar that Charlie was playing the band at. She's going to knock out the actual human Sarah. She's going to knock her out, lock her in a bathroom, and the alien hybrid Sarah is going to be the one to take her place and get sucked up into the alien ship, and that guy's basically going to end up making hybrid clones of a clone. That's going to be my prediction because like with Legends, they tease Sarah having powers damn near like every season, and then they always find a way to take her power away. Because even last season, she became a god when she got the Loom power from one of the Loom sisters, but they took the power away from her in the season finale. Sarah, every time Sarah gets a power, they always take it from her before the season's over. So, but that's how we're going to get rid of this whole regeneration alien power thing. Like I said, that the current hybrid clone is going to save the original in the season finale, and the finale is going to be called Back to the Finale Part 3. So thank you for tuning in, and that's my prediction. Let me know what you think about my prediction. Am I right on the money? What do you think about where Legends is going with the whole Constantine thing with the magic? Does he get his magic back anytime soon? Does it drag out to the season finale? Are there other new magical forces that are going to happen? Because the way it stands right now, we're basically just chasing aliens, and there's really no big bad, like on Legends right now, unless the guy who was making all the clones ends up making a comeback as well. Mick's starting to fade away. I see, Mick Rory's starting to fade away, but like I said, we'll see how long he lasts, and like I said, we'll just keep tuning in, and we'll see where the Legends takes us. Check me out on Twitter, check me out on Instagram, hit me up on YouTube as always, because I love you guys' questions, comments, and concerns, and we'll ride the Legends train all the way till the end. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next week for more Legends craziness, take care, and I'm out this bitch.